Welcome back to the Voices of Long COVID podcast. I'm your host, Noelle. On each episode, I'll be featuring a different long COVID sufferer and sharing their story. We will learn about the strength and resilience of those who continue to persevere with this chronic condition that has drastically altered their lives. There are an estimated 400 million people suffering with long COVID worldwide. People say they don't know anyone with long COVID. Well, now you can say that you do. Today I have the pleasure of speaking with Adriana from North Vancouver, BC. She is the head of the Long COVID Canada Facebook group and has been suffering from long COVID since December of 2020. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much. I'm so happy to be here.
Your story is really powerful and proves that this illness can happen to anyone. So, starting with your life prior to COVID, tell me about Adriana at 36 years of age. What was your life like?
Oh, my life was incredible, to be absolutely honest. I was incredibly happy. I was an international level competitive swimmer. I've been a competitive swimmer my entire life.
So impressive.
Thank you. Swimming was my passion. It was my therapy. It was absolutely my everything. And I also had a very fulfilling job and career. I also had a very full social life with my friends, going to music shows and hanging out with my friends and everything. It was an amazing life. Going camping, I was always extremely active. Yeah,
that shows how healthy you were at that time.
Always.
So December of 2020 rolls around. How does your story with COVID and then long COVID begin?
Well, I never really quite knew how we got sick because we were taking every single precaution. But on December 25th, I woke up feeling a little bit stuffy, feeling a little bit weak. We had Christmas with my mom, just with my mom, because back then it was, I don't know if you remember, but it was just the bubbles with your safe people and everything.
Right, yeah.
So back when people took COVID very seriously and took the proper precautions. So we only had Christmas dinner with my mom.
Right.
And I woke up just feeling not quite all right. And I thought it was just a head cold because it was quite chilly the night before. But as the day progressed, I started having more issues breathing. I started feeling increasingly weaker. To the point that I was actually having issues breathing. It was like having an elephant on my chest. I was having issues even getting up from off the couch.
Oh, wow.
And I started getting scared. I'm like, what the hell is happening to me? On the 26th, I woke up and I lost completely my sense of taste and smell. And that's when I knew this must be COVID. Like there's no other explanation. So my partner managed to drive me over to the PCR center to get tested. And true enough, on December 28th, I got my positive result, which, funny story, on December 28th in Mexico, it's the Day of the Innocent, which is the equivalent of April's Fool Day here in Canada. It's a prankster's day. And I called my dad and he's like, "Oh, happy Day of the Innocent." And I'm like, "Oh, I have COVID." And he started laughing his face off.
He thought you were joking.
Yeah, he thought I was joking until I started crying. And he's like, "Oh my God, what's happening?" I'm like, "No, it's real. I really do have COVID." I was scared out of my mind. And then he started, of course, consoling me and everything. But yeah, ever since it's been an absolute hell. A lot of people, their illness was mild and they recovered, went back to work and all of that stuff. I never recovered. I actually had a few brushes with death. I was at the ER for, during the first month at least, I was once or twice a week. My oxygen was fluctuating between 79 and 80 and 91, sorry.
That's low. It sounds good. That's not good.
No, for general knowledge, the safe levels are usually 95, and you're typically hospitalized when your levels are below 90.
Mm-hmm.
But when I was at the hospital, because my levels were to 91, 92, and then they were dropping, and then they were going to 91, 92 again, and then they were dropping. They're like, oh, well, we don't know if we should keep you or not, and it's COVID, we don't know what to do. I was having heart pain, like horrible heart pain, which we later found out I was having mini heart attacks.
Oh my
My
gosh.
heart rate was shooting up to close to 200 by walking 10 steps from my bedroom to the kitchen. I was almost fainting getting to the kitchen. It was absolutely horrible.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't speak more than a word per breath. It literally took me 10 months to be able to laugh. I couldn't laugh because I would faint.
That takes breath. Yeah.
Yeah, I would faint.
Wow.
So it was absolutely hell. So for the first 2 years of my illness, I almost died on 5 different occasions.
God. Wow. Well, I'm glad that you survived that, although I'm sure you're questioning whether that was a good thing or not at this point.
Oh, Noel, it's every single day that I would wake up, I'd be like, why? Why am I still here? Like the level of pain is not just not being able to breathe, it's the heart pain, the muscles, everything was not being able to think, not being able to process words. Sometimes my partner would talk to me. I still have cognitive issues where he talks to me and sometimes I don't understand. It's like Charlie Brown's teacher, like whoa, 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 whoa.
Yeah.
I'm like, what? It's absolute hell. It's complete hell. And that's why it's so important to raise awareness about this, because I never took anything for granted, but having something as crucial as your health taken away from you literally overnight,
Mm-hmm.
it's soul crushing. Like taking your life away from you, it's absolutely devastating. Not being able to do anything that you were able to do before, it's horrible.
I don't know if you feel the same, but I feel like it's, for me, the before times and the after times. It's a completely different life now.
Oh, for sure. For sure. Sometimes, well, now even taking a shower, it's an issue. Like I even had to cut my hair because I used to have my hair mid back, and I had to cut it super, super short because taking a shower, I had to plan an entire day around taking a shower. And before, you start your day with taking a shower, and then that's you go on with your entire day. And it's like, how on earth was I able to do all the things that I used to do before?
Yeah.
I used to be able to train 4 or 5 hours a day, work an 8-hour day, plus sometimes go out at night every single day. Like, how was I able to do that? And now I can't even take a shower, for crying out loud. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. What has your experience been like with seeking medical care for long COVID?
Oh, it's been a nightmare, to say that, to not have any sort of care whatsoever. Like no one could ever imagined, not to have anyone care for you.
Yeah, it's just not living in Canada where we are. You assume that you will get the medical care that you need. And we just, before this, I couldn't even picture going through what we've been through.
Yeah. You know, being healthy before, never having any major issues or anything like that, other than a regular cold here and there, I always thought if anything serious ever happened to me, of course, there's going to be doctors that are going to know what to do, how to take care of you,
Yeah.
et cetera, starting with your family doctor, of course. And then from there, you go to a specialist, hospital, people in the ER, all of that. You can count on them. But this experience has been extremely eye-opening because starting with my family doctor of 20 plus years, when I first got sick, that's the first thing I did. I called my family doctor,
Mm-hmm.
and the first thing she did was she said, "Oh, I'm sorry that you got COVID, but I don't know anything about COVID. I don't want to know anything about COVID. If anything happens to you, just go to the ER because I don't want to deal with COVID, and good luck to you."
Oh my gosh.
So I'm like, okay. So, like I said before, I was at the ER at least twice a week. And of course, there's certain things that the ER has to go through with your family doctor.
Right. They're supposed to work together. Yeah.
Yeah. And one of those, because my heart was extremely bad, they sent me a Holter monitor for 48 hours.
Right.
And the Holter monitor showed extreme irregularities in my heart. And my doctor called me for the results. And, I was having extreme pain in my heart and I was having difficulty speaking, like I said before. And my doctor is like, well, I got the results of your monitor. And, it looks really weird, but I think you're just exaggerating. And to me, I think that the pain that you're having is just heartburn, and the spikes to 200 and such is just anxiety. So you shouldn't really worry about it. And I'm like, how can you explain that I can't speak more than a word per breath because my oxygen is like plumbing? And I've never in my life suffered from anxiety before.
Right. That's just so disappointing that you've built this relationship with your doctor for 20 years. They have evidence in front of them and they are discounting it.
Yeah.
It's so incredibly disappointing.
She actually fired me as a patient. And then all the other specialists have been pretty much the same. They either don't believe me, they take me as a hypochondriac and everything is mental, or, they just shrug their shoulders and they say, well, you know what, it's COVID, we don't know, and good luck to you. But I've been lucky, extremely lucky, that I found a new family doctor. When I explained what happened with my previous one, he was completely horrified and he's like, Jesus Christ, no.
Mm-hmm.
He moved from the States. He was actually treating people with COVID in the States.
Oh, wow. That's
and
good.
He's like, let's just try everything. And he put me on a cocktail of drugs. And he actually saved me. So I'm extremely thankful for him. And the other doctor is a specialist here in Vancouver who actually taught me how to manage my energy, because I had absolutely no idea what pacing was or post-exertional malaise was. And of course, as a former athlete, the very first thing that you do and the very first thing that they drill into your brain, and also as a society overall, is we need to push through.
Right.
We can't rest.
Yep.
We need to keep active. We need to keep moving. We need to keep pushing. So that's what I tried to do, even though I could barely move. That's all what I kept doing. And that's why I kept doing more and more damage until this doctor said, no, you need to stop because otherwise you're literally going to die. Like in your condition, you're alive because of swimming. You're alive because of your swimming lungs and your swimming fitness. Otherwise, you shouldn't be alive at this point.
Mm-hmm.
So just stop. Like those two doctors are the ones that saved my life.
I'm so
Um,
happy that you found them. That's amazing.
Thank you. Me too, but it's incredibly hard to find doctors that believe you, and I see that in the group all the time.
Yeah.
It's hard to find a family doctor, period, anywhere in Canada to begin with,
Yeah.
and to find a doctor that believes your symptoms, because most of our symptoms don't even show up on tests. So
Mm-hmm.
a lot of our symptoms are taken as psychological and we're crazy until someone who has actually been either doing the research or reading the international research, because no one here in Canada cares to do, well, no, I shouldn't say that. Very little people here in Canada care to do research, say, no, there's actually something wrong with these people. We just don't have the technology to be able to detect it.
Yeah. What's frustrating is the specialist that you're talking about, that I see as well. What's frustrating is he saw this coming, and there's doctors in the States and around the world that saw this coming, that
Mm-hmm.
a viral infection would cause long-term lasting effects and even cause more cases of ME, CFS. So I don't
Mm-hmm.
understand why we're reinventing the wheel and why we're starting at square one by gaslighting the patients. It makes no sense
Yeah.
to me. We've wasted 4 years and we're still gaslighting. We're still in the gaslighting phase when we
Yeah.
should be in the treatment phase by now.
Exactly.
How has having long COVID impacted your relationships with family, friends, and even your interaction with the public?
Oh, it's completely annihilated them. I, not to sound too pessimistic or anything like that, but I literally feel like I may as well be dead. You know, I've lost about 98% of my friends. Most of them accounted my condition to being deconditioned, and they said, "Well, you're an athlete, and you should be working out, and you should be getting back into fitness, and you can't breathe because you're deconditioned." I'm like, "You think that I wouldn't be able to breathe for not being able to work out for 2 months? Are you kidding?"
Yeah, deconditioning does not happen that quickly.
Right?
No.
Like, not being able to work out for 2 months doesn't take away your ability to climb 5 stairs or being able to speak.
Yeah.
My mom and my mom took a while to understand. She initially had a lot of issues understanding, for the same reason, you're an athlete, you've always pushed through, da 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 da. But it wasn't until she actually stayed with me for a week when my partner had to go out for work that she saw me in my day-to-day struggles and in my I'm almost dying kind of state, that she actually said it's real and there's nothing she can do, and this is actually really, really bad.
Mm-hmm. That actually really surprises me in that with you being an athlete, do they not see, like, you're used to pushing through things?
Mm-hmm.
It just really surprises me that they didn't take you seriously. I'm sorry, that's brutal.
That's what I told everyone. Everyone kept saying, "You're not doing enough. You're not trying hard enough. You're victimizing yourself. You're blah, blah, blah." I'm like, when have I ever not tried hard enough? When have I ever victimized myself? I'm literally trying everything I can possibly do. Like there's literally nothing else that I can do. That's why I was so hurt and so angry, because I've never in my life not tried, not fought, not, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
for them to have that image of me overnight, it was like, what do you think that I'm doing, that I'm suddenly giving up? Like, this is my life that I'm literally fighting for my, like, I'm not fighting for a competition. I'm not fighting for going against my rival. I'm fighting for literally staying alive. Like, this is the biggest fight of my life.
Yeah. That's one of the hardest things for me, is being perceived as lazy,
Mm-hmm.
because I do have such a strong work ethic.
Yeah.
And same as you, like, I've been fighting harder than I've ever fought before. And to be in the midst of that seen as lazy
Mm-hmm.
is so incredibly hard when, all we're looking for is support.
Yeah. That's one of the silver linings that I found with this, because our energy is literally so limited that we actually have to be so selective on how we spend it. Like, we cannot allow our energy to be wasted on things like this, because
Yeah.
we need to use it to manage our symptoms and stay alive.
Yeah. Literally. Yeah.
We can't have this kind of leakage.
No. Do you want to take a brain break?
Yes, we could.
We're going to take a break and remind you, with full disclosure, that this podcast takes several days to record and create, depending on the health of the host and the guests. I am relying on the help of others for editing. Any discussion of modalities or treatments are not to be considered medical advice. If you believe you have long COVID, know that you are not alone. Seek out the many Facebook groups for community support, such as Long COVID Canada and COVID Long Haulers Support Group Canada, and please speak to your doctor for medical support. So, you're more than 3 years into this.
Mm-hmm.
What symptoms do you continue to have?
I still get a lot of post-exertional malaise. Thankfully, I've learned how to manage it better, but it's still very unpredictable.
And you've been diagnosed with ME/CFS?
Yeah, I was.
Sorry. I want to talk about that for a minute, because I haven't really addressed it. That ME/CFS is myalgic encephalomyelitis, otherwise known as chronic fatigue syndrome. Both of those names are horrible names.
Mm-hmm.
The first one you can't pronounce or spell, and the second one uses the word fatigue, which everyone has experienced fatigue before, but it's on a completely different level. And this is the one illness that you can't exercise your way out of. It actually is harmful if you do overexert yourself. So that post-exertional malaise that you mentioned can be from doing something physical, can be from doing something cognitive, even doing this podcast. We'll be resting later. And even social. So even talking with friends and family can be too much for our systems. And I don't know about
emotional too.
Emotional, yeah. And I don't know about you, but if I overexert myself, I can crash for 4 days. So I'm lying down most of the time anyway, but if I crash, I'm completely debilitated for 4 days.
Yeah.
But they're saying that approximately 50% of long COVID patients will go on to develop ME/CFS. So I just wanted to put that little snippet in there. So what other symptoms are you still experiencing?
A whole bunch of neurological issues. Like, I still can't multitask. I used to be the master of multitasking. And I now, if we're watching a show and my partner talks to me, I have to pause it, have the conversation, and then resume the show. I used to love the horror movies and the complex psychological movies, you know. I used to love those ones, and now I need to stick to comedies and cartoons pretty much because I can't follow storylines. I even tried to watch what was it? Guardians of the Galaxy. I'm a huge Marvel nerd, and we tried to watch the new Guardians of the Galaxy, and I couldn't even do the first 10 minutes because I was so confused by everything. I'm like, who is this person and I cried. So I have a lot of issues like that. When I'm crashing, I still have issues understanding, like that Charlie Brown teacher, like voices become like wah 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 wah.
Yeah.
I like you've noticed, I still have a lot of issues finding words. I used to be a writer just for fun, and I used to pride myself of having a very extensive vocabulary and using big boy words and all that kind of thing. And I forget how to spell things half the time. It's mostly cognitive, and I short-term memory, like energy things, and my hands tremble every once in a while. All sorts of dysautonomia. I don't have POTS, but dysautonomia, for those who don't know, it's a condition that affects the autonomic nervous system, which regulates all the unconscious body functions like breathing and
temperature regulation, things like that.
Temperature regulations, things like that. So it could be freezing cold outside, and I could be sweating bullets and being like I'm having menopause, and the other way around. You know, it could be super hot outside and I'm freezing cold, and or my hands would be freezing cold, but the rest of my body super hot. Just ridiculous things like that. Things in my body randomly go numb for no reason. My eyes, my vision goes blurry too, randomly sometimes. I don't see, I just see blurry, and it lasts for sometimes a couple of hours. You know, there's a ton of things, but at least my lungs are better.
Yeah, it's interesting. This is my own theory, but I've noticed that a lot of people that have had the respiratory symptoms, and that was their main symptom to begin with, that's recovered. That's gone for them. They've either fully recovered or their lungs are better now. That seems to be the organ that is recovering best. I don't know. I mean, everything else is, it is an illness, a blood illness. So it affects everywhere you have blood, which is your entire body.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm glad your lungs are better.
Well, to me, it took me, I stopped my lung therapy because I couldn't afford it anymore. My lung therapist was actually in Mexico because I couldn't find one here in Canada. So I had to find one in Mexico, and it was a customized. She's another one that saved my life because I literally would have died asphyxiated probably at some point. But I was in a rigorous lung therapy up until recently, just because I couldn't afford it anymore because of, not working and debt. I'm in the biggest amount of debt I've been in my entire life. But like we said, it's not just my theory before when I first got sick. And this was back when we thought that COVID was a purely respiratory virus. My theory was that because I was having the heart pain and the fatigue and the mini heart attacks and all this stuff, I was like, okay, well, it's probably because of the lack of oxygen,
Right.
because my oxygen was so low. So probably if I work on my lungs and I get my oxygen levels to what they should be, in theory, everything else should fix itself. But then I improved my lungs. My oxygen levels, thankfully, now are back to normal.
That's good.
Thank you. But everything else is still.
Yeah.
So that didn't work out, which supports the theory of all the research that's coming out that COVID affects every single organ and system in the body.
Yeah, absolutely. So, what is daily life like for you now?
So basically, my day is now just trying to manage symptoms, and the only find a little shreds of happiness and positive in my day, which is spending time with my many little souls that I have, my little pets and my partner, and trying to help the people in my group so they don't go through the same thing of loneliness and abandonment. And if I can pass even a teeny tiny bit of knowledge, wisdom, empathy, whatever I can do to help so they don't feel as alone as the outside world can make us feel.
Yeah, that's really amazing and admirable that you use your limited energy to run the Facebook group. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you. Well, we have to help each other. I mean, we're a community, and we're pretty shunned away by everyone, including the people who should be helping us, which is the medical community, and we should be supporting each other. And I was mind blown to see how many people were as sick as I was.
On to the next question. This is an emotional one. What are some of the biggest losses that you have suffered as a result of developing long COVID?
Well, everything. I mean, I can't really say one was more than another. I mean, if I really have to say one thing, I would have to say my swimming, because my swimming was really my everything. It was my way of dealing with life.
Yeah.
I learned how to swim before I even learned how to walk. That's I think that should tell you everything. But just losing your ability to do even the simplest of things in life, it's soul crushing. Just losing your life, losing everything. It's losing a job that I was finally at a point that I was financially independent, and I actually had a decent amount of savings that I was starting to contemplate buying a house and starting a family. And what, after my last Worlds, I was going to still compete. I was just not going to compete at a serious level, because I wanted to start working towards family settling down and all that. But yeah, all of that is gone. So yeah.
Yeah, I really feel that. I try and look at the positives for me, and I was able to have a career for 25 years, get married, have 2 children, and I really feel for people that are younger and couldn't, haven't reached that point yet. And now what? We're not dead, but we're not really living either. It's we're in this place of limbo.
I really feel too for the people who are even younger than me. Like there's a huge community, long COVID community on Twitter, and there's this super young girl. She's 22 now. She got sick when she had just turned 20 when she got sick, and it breaks my heart. She's even more severe than I am because she's like 100% bedbound, and she's 100% dependent on her parents. And she says, "Well, I can't even go back to school. Like I had a career that I wanted to study and a job of a dream job that I wanted to do, and I also wanted to have a family and this and that, and I'm never going to be able to." Like all those young people as well, it's also now they're dependent on their parents, and unfortunately once their parents are not there, what are they going to do?
Yeah. It's a huge personal loss, and it's a huge loss for society to be missing out on our contributions and missing out on the families that, people wanted to have. It's huge. Mm-hmm. We'll be back to our interview after a short brain break. The stories of my guests are remarkable in the sense of what they have survived and continue to deal with each and every day. Although unremarkable in that long COVID can happen to anyone, no matter your age or your health. It has happened, and it continues to happen. This is an equal opportunity virus. Have you found anything helpful with in terms of managing your symptoms? Any strategies that have helped you?
Yeah, like I said before, my lung therapy was a truly lifesaver, quite literally. Pacing is one of the hardest things that anyone could possibly learn. Is not just resting and managing. It takes a lot of knowing yourself. And the really hardest thing that I had to learn was learn how to stop.
Yeah. Learning to stop is so difficult.
It's incredibly difficult.
Yeah.
Even when you think that you can still go, it's like, no, I have to stop.
Yeah, and especially when the symptoms can be delayed and you don't know until the next day or 2 days later that you've overdone it. Mm-hmm. It takes a lot of mental strength to stop and to recognize what's going on in your body.
Exactly.
Beyond the obvious symptoms. Yeah.
So pacing has been the second biggest thing next to my lung therapy that has helped me, because I was literally 100% bedridden for the first year and a half, 2 years probably. I could barely get out of bed and do anything. And now I would say, I've made it to be having 3 to 4 hours, I'll say, not continuous, obviously. Like I try to spread them out, of doing something throughout the day, and then I rest the rest of the time. But yeah, finding a good mix of medications, and then 6 permanent medications that have semi-helped, semi-managed symptoms.
Yeah. You said that very well.
That's as much as we can hope for.
At this point, it is. What do you want people to know about your experience with getting COVID and developing long COVID?
Well, what we've been yelling from the top of our lungs It can happen with everyone. It's not psychological. We're not crazy. It's very real. And I think it's because most people say, well, I've had COVID and I recovered okay. And what I keep repeating people is, it's not what happens while you're sick. That while you're sick, it doesn't matter. I mean, it matters, but it doesn't matter. It's everything that can happen afterwards. There's thousands of stories out there of people falling like flies because of cardiac issues, because of brain aneurysms, because of um, respiratory issues, months after a COVID infection. Of course, they don't mention that, but afterwards things come to light. And it's because of the COVID infection that they had. It's just that they don't connect the dots. That is because of the COVID infection they had months before, because it happened months before.
Yeah, it's no longer the acute infection that we need to be concerned with. It's the long-term effects. And we're evidence of that.
And that's what we're trying to prevent, as much as it hurts us and anger us, all the mocking that we see, especially online.
Yeah, I argue way too often with people online.
The
clown show.
I've given up. I swear. There's so many people whose only purpose is to be trolls, and they just say keywords to piss you off and hits them, and then they're like, "Oh, you were actually right. Now what do I do?" Well, guess what? It's too late. There's nothing you can do. There's absolutely zero help. That's what I've been trying to tell you.
What do you need from friends, family, the general public, and the medical community?
Well, I think what we've all been asking all along, support and acknowledgement. And what that looks like, depending on who they are, whether they're friends, family, or medical community, that's going to be different, but that's ultimately what we all need. We hope that we get more understanding and acknowledgement from the medical community, because that's the one that we rely mostly on for answers. But we also need our friends and family, because they're our safety net.
Mm-hmm.
And if they could only take the time, even if they don't understand, because I don't know about you, but it took me a heck a long time to even begin to wrap my head around what the hell was happening to me, and what is this, and why, and all of that. Like it's a complex thing. Just be supportive. Just be there for us.
Mm-hmm.
Just ask, what do you need from me right now? Do you need me to bring you food? Do you need to vent? We're isolated from the world most of the time.
Yeah, feeling heard and understood can be so helpful in healing, and we're not getting that.
No, and I don't know about you. I am the type of person who finds it very difficult to ask for help.
Yeah, I've had to learn that. Yeah.
And I still find it very difficult to ask for help, and I don't want to be a bother and a burden. And I feel like a burden already, enough of a burden to my partner and my mom, and the handful of people who are already supporting me. I already feel like a huge burden to them. It would be awesome if people knew, not only people with long COVID, if people know anyone with any sort of chronic condition, just to approach and send them a nice message every once in a while, buy them food every once in a while, like an act of kindness. It's a huge thing.
Yeah, and if people like us are asking for help, we really need it.
Exactly. If someone who never asks for help is because it's a big thing. there's something wrong.
Yeah. Okay, last question. Has there been any silver lining for you? What have you learned about yourself through becoming chronically ill?
There's been a couple of things. It's been really humbling, like I said, to learn to tell myself no has been a huge thing. I've always found the positive on the little things, but to find positive in even the smallest of things. Like I said, spending time with my pets, finding joy in taking the 5,000 pictures that I have of them a month. Spending time with my partner, the bliss that I feel on the rare days that I'm not in complete hell, or when I actually can listen to one of the songs that I haven't listened in years, and I can actually listen to a full song without having excruciating pain and things like that, having those little moments and actually savor them and be like, oh my God, I can actually do this, and not suffer and waiting a few days and not having to pay for it. Those kind of things, like actually enjoying the little things, have been amazing.
I love to see the growth through such difficult times, and using this as a learning opportunity. I try to do that as well.
Yeah.
And I really love that you're helping others who are struggling, even though you're struggling yourself. So thank you for that.
No, thank you. As long as I'm able to do it, like I said, we're here all for each other and nothing special. We're all here for each other. We're all helping each other. So I'm just one more doing it.
Well, thank you so much for your time today and your vulnerability in sharing with me, and for your advocacy work as well. Thank you.
No, thank you so much for creating this space, for spreading the word, for giving us a voice. That is huge, especially for keeping it real and letting us be, because many patients are going to be very eager to share their stories with that freedom and authenticity that they're craving to share with the world. So thank you so very much for this very valuable space.
Thank you. I hope it helps. It's rest time for both of us.
Yes.
Thank you again.
Thank you so much. Take care.
Thank you to Craig Rogers for writing and recording this amazing theme music. Thank you for listening. Please make sure to follow Voices of Long COVID on our Instagram, TikTok, X, and YouTube accounts. New episodes drop every Wednesday wherever you listen to podcasts. Until then, stay safe and stay informed.